The forest was silent, but not empty. The silence had a weight to it, like a breath held too long, waiting for something unseen to stir. Autumn had come, painting the world in muted golds and deep ambers, and the wind carried the faint scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. Every step she took on the narrow path toward the clearing where her father lay buried pressed her deeper into memories she had tried to forget. Each crunch of dry leaves under her boots echoed like the heartbeat of the past she had left behind. Samantha, though she had always gone by Sam, paused as she reached the small clearing. The grave was modest, a simple stone etched with a name that now seemed almost distant, Alexander Gray, father, protector, friend. Moss had begun to creep over the edges of the stone, threading through the letters like the passage of time itself refusing to be contained. She knelt, brushing her fingers over the cold surface, and a shiver ran down her spine, not from the chill, but from a pang of longing she had buried deep in the recesses of her heart. It had been years since she had last stood here. Years of running from memories, from the town, from herself. And yet, despite all she had done to separate herself from this place, the pull had never faded. Something in the forest called to her, a quiet, insistent tug she could not name. "You're here," she whispered, the words falling like ash into the silence. "I'm finally here." But the forest answered not with words, but with a shift, a sudden, palpable sense that she was no longer alone. Her heart picked up its pace. At first, she thought it was just the wind, brushing through the branches above, teasing her with shadows that danced across the ground. But the feeling persisted, heavier now, like eyes, hundreds of unseen eyes, watching her every move. And then, she saw them. 25 wolves, emerging from the trees, moving with a grace and stillness that made her gasp. They were large, their coats glinting in the pale afternoon sun, a mixture of gray, silver, black, and the soft brown of autumn leaves. They formed a semicircle around the grave, heads held high, eyes locked onto her. There was no fear in their gaze, only recognition, ancient, knowing recognition that pricked at the edges of her memory, stirring feelings she had long buried. She wanted to back away, to run, but her feet felt rooted to the earth. Her breath came in shallow bursts as the largest of the wolves stepped forward, its presence commanding the space, radiating authority and something familiar. Its amber eyes met hers, unblinking, and she felt a strange warmth spread through her chest, a connection she could not explain. Who are you?" she asked, voice barely audible. The wolf tilted its head slightly, as though considering her, and then, in a voice that echoed in her mind rather than in the air, it spoke. "Princess of the pack." The words struck her like a thunderclap, freezing her in place. She blinked, thinking it some trick of imagination, some cruel mirage conjured by grief and loneliness. But when the wolf stepped closer, its gaze unwavering, she knew, somehow, that it had spoken the truth. You called me that?" she whispered. "Yes," the wolf replied, its voice deep and resonant, carrying the weight of centuries. "You belong here. You always have." Her mind reeled. She had grown up knowing wolves only as stories her father told her, tales of loyalty and hierarchy, of strength and survival. She had never imagined she would stand before a real pack, much less be addressed as their princess. Her father had always believed in her, had always said she was special, though she had never understood why. And now, standing among 25 wolves in the golden light of an autumn clearing, she felt the truth of his words. Tears pricked her eyes, and she blinked them away. I don't understand," she admitted. "Why me? Why now?" The wolf stepped closer, and she could see the intricate scar running down its muzzle, a mark of battles fought and survived. "Because you are part of us, as much as we are part of you. Your father knew it, and now it is your turn to see it." Her heart pounded. Memories of her father flooded back, his strong hands guiding hers as she learned to track, to listen, to respect the wilderness. His voice, gentle yet commanding, echoing lessons of life and loyalty. And in that moment, she realized how much of him had lived on in her. He had prepared her for this, though she had never known. The wolves shifted, their bodies moving in silent communication, a language of glances and subtle gestures she felt but could not yet fully understand. One of the smaller wolves, a silver-gray one with eyes like liquid gold, stepped forward. It sniffed at her boots, then looked up at her with curiosity and gentle reassurance. She knelt, extending a tentative hand, and the wolf pressed its muzzle against her palm. A thrill ran through her, a pulse of recognition, as though an invisible bond had been sealed. You feel it too," she whispered, voice trembling. "You know me." The great wolf, clearly the alpha, circled her slowly, eyes never leaving hers. "We have always known you. You were never lost, princess. Only hidden. Now you have returned, and the pack is whole again." For a long moment she could only stare, her mind a whirlwind of disbelief, awe, and burgeoning hope. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the sunlight filtering through the trees, casting dappled shadows that danced across the pack's sleek forms. Somewhere deep within her chest, a warmth spread, melting the years of loneliness and grief, filling her with something she had never dared to name: belonging. Belonging, she murmured, tasting the word on her tongue. It felt strange, foreign, yet utterly right. She had wandered for so long, seeking something she couldn't name. And here it was, waiting for her, not in people, not in places, but in this wild, untamed family that had been hers all along. The alpha wolf lowered its head slightly, a gesture of reverence, and she understood. Not all families are human, she thought. Some are fur and claw, loyalty and instinct, bond and spirit. And sometimes, those families wait a lifetime for the one they are destined to call their own. Her knees pressed into the damp earth, and she let her hands rest on the cold stone of her father's grave once more. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I never imagined none of this." The wolf that had spoken, her alpha, her guide, stepped closer. Its eyes glimmered with a depth she could not comprehend, an understanding that transcended words. "You don't need to say anything. Only feel. Learn. Lead when the time comes. For now, you are home." The pack shifted again, a ripple of movement like water through reeds, a subtle communication that spoke of acceptance, protection, and unity. And Sam, no longer just a lonely girl at her father's grave, no longer merely a visitor in the forest, felt something awaken within her. A spark of courage, a glimmer of power, a bond older than memory, older than grief, older than time itself. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the clearing, gilding the wolves in amber light. Sam rose slowly, brushing the leaves from her coat, her heart pounding with anticipation, awe, and something else, something that made her throat tighten and her spirit soar simultaneously. She was not alone. She had never truly been alone. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that the past had brought her here for a reason, that the grief and the wandering had led to this moment of revelation, and that she, the princess of the pack, was ready to step into the destiny her father had always seen for her. A distant howl rose through the trees, answered by another, then another, until the forest itself seemed to sing in unison. Sam lifted her head, inhaling deeply the scent of earth, fur, and freedom, and she whispered into the fading light, "I'm ready." The forest had grown quieter now, but it was not the emptiness of solitude. Rather, it was a deep, anticipatory silence, as if the very trees themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something to unfold. Samantha, Sam, stood in the center of the clearing, surrounded by the 25 wolves who had claimed her as their own. Each movement they made was deliberate, a language of unspoken signals, subtle glances, and silent commands. Her heartbeat raced, a wild rhythm that matched the pulsing life of the forest around her. She had spent her entire life running, hiding from the emptiness left by her father's passing. She had wandered through crowded streets, through towns where she felt invisible, through cities that had swallowed her without a second thought. And yet, here she was, finally, undeniably, unavoidably home. The wolves did not merely tolerate her presence. They acknowledged it, recognized it, and waited for her to understand her place within their midst. Princess? The word lingered in her mind, as vivid and resonant as the howl of the alpha that had named her. She had repeated it like a prayer, tasting the syllables, feeling the weight of them settle into her bones. Princess of the pack. It felt strange, foreign even, but the connection ran deeper than thought. Deeper than memory. She could feel it in her blood, in the pulse of her veins, in the thrum of her chest. The alpha wolf stepped forward again, moving with an effortless grace that spoke of power and wisdom. Its amber eyes held hers, unblinking, unyielding, yet strangely tender. Do you feel it? It asked, not in sound, but in thought, in something that bypassed her ears and spoke directly to her consciousness. The bond? The call? It has always been yours. Sam swallowed hard, trying to respond, but words failed her. How could she explain what she felt? The tingling sensation that ran from her fingers to her shoulders when a wolf brushed past her? The inexplicable understanding she felt when she met their eyes, an understanding that transcended language, logic, and reason? She could only nod, her fingers brushing the fur of the silver-gray wolf that had approached her first. The forest seemed to lean in closer, as though it too wanted her to understand, to accept, to awaken to what had always been. Leaves rustled softly, carrying the scent of moss, pine, and damp earth. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting golden threads across the forest floor, highlighting the forms of the wolves, turning their fur into living embroidery of the autumn light. One of the younger wolves, a sleek black one with a curious gleam in its eyes, stepped forward and circled her slowly. Its movements were cautious, tentative, as if it were testing her, measuring her. Sam knelt slowly, extending a hand, letting the wolf sniff her, letting it feel the warmth of her presence. It pressed its head into her palm, a gesture of trust, and she felt a surge of emotion so intense it made her knees tremble. You know me," she whispered, almost afraid that speaking the words aloud would shatter the fragile magic of the mom. "Ent." The alpha wolf's gaze softened. "We have always known you. From the moment you were born, your spirit was ours. Your father, he tried to guide you toward us, but life, circumstances, pulled you away. Now, the pack awakens, and you are here." Awakens. The word echoed in her mind, reverberating like a drumbeat in the hollow of her chest. She realized, suddenly, that this was not just a gathering of wolves. This was more. This was a calling, a convergence of fate, a long-dormant power stirring to life. The forest itself seemed to hum with it, every branch, every leaf, every inch of earth vibrating with anticipation. And yet, she felt a flicker of fear. She had been alone for so long, and now, surrounded by creatures she had only ever known in stories, she felt vulnerable, exposed, and uncertain. What did it mean to be the princess of the pack? What responsibilities came with such a title? Could she live up to the legacy her father had left, a legacy entwined with creatures of fur and fang, with instincts and power far beyond her comprehension? The alpha wolf circled her once more, muscles rippling beneath its fur, eyes never leaving hers. "Fear is natural," it communicated, a soft vibration in her mind that was both reassuring and grounding. "You are new to this world, to your destiny. But you are not alone. You never have been." Sam closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sensations wash over her, the warmth of the wolves around her, the grounding scent of the forest, the wind whispering through the trees, the sunlight brushing her skin. She felt the rhythm of the pack, a pulse that seemed to echo her own heartbeat. It was mesmerizing, intoxicating, overwhelming. And in that moment, she understood something fundamental. She was part of this world, as it was part of her. The wolves were not merely creatures she observed, they were extensions of the bond that ran through her father, through the forest itself. Slowly, she opened her eyes and took a step forward. The wolves shifted to accommodate her, forming a protective ring, their eyes glowing with intelligence and awareness. She felt the soft crunch of leaves beneath her boots, felt the rough bark of trees brushing her sleeves as she moved deeper into the clearing. The alpha wolf matched her pace, its presence a constant reassurance, a tether to reality even as the magic of the moment stretched the boundaries of what she thought possible. A sudden sound, a twig snapping, made her flinch, and all 25 wolves turned their heads in unison, ears alert, bodies coiled like springs. Sam's pulse quickened, but the alpha's gaze remained calm, steady, grounding her. "The forest watches," it communicated. "It tests. It guards. So too must you learn to observe, to sense, to understand. Your journey has begun." Journey. The word resonated in her chest, filling her with both trepidation and excitement. She had wandered aimlessly for years, seeking a purpose she could not name. And now, surrounded by the pack, she sensed that her journey was not merely about survival, it was about belonging, about discovering the depths of her own heart and spirit, about fulfilling a destiny that had been waiting for her all along. The young silver-gray wolf returned to her side, brushing its shoulder against her legs in a gesture that felt like affection and encouragement. Sam knelt again, running her fingers through its fur, feeling the strength and warmth beneath her hands. "I will learn," she whispered. "I will try." The alpha wolf lowered its head, a gesture of approval, and she felt a wave of understanding pass between them. This was not merely a moment of recognition, it was a covenant, a promise, a bond that could not be broken. The pack had awakened, and she was its heart. Time seemed to lose meaning in that clearing. Hours passed, or perhaps only moments, yet Sam felt herself changing with every breath, every heartbeat, every gentle nudge of a wolf against her shoulder. The forest was alive, the pack was alive, and she too felt herself coming alive, awakening to something vast, ancient, and profoundly powerful. She closed her eyes once more, inhaling deeply the scents of the forest, the earthy perfume of soil, the sharp tang of pine, the warmth of fur pressed against her legs. The pack's rhythm flowed through her, steady and reassuring, a pulse that seemed to echo in every fiber of her being. She realized then that fear had no hold here. Loneliness had no meaning here. She was home. And yet, beneath the calm, a flicker of curiosity sparked in her mind. Who had named her princess of the pack? What role awaited her in this intricate web of fur, claw, and instinct? There were questions she could not yet answer, mysteries that stretched beyond the horizon of understanding. But for the first time in her life, she felt ready to face them. The alpha wolf moved closer, brushing against her hand, a gentle assertion of connection and expectation. "Learn, observe, grow," it communicated. "The forest is your teacher. The pack is your family. And you, princess, are our future." Sam nodded, letting the words sink into her, filling her with purpose. She could feel it now, the stirrings of something deep within her chest, a fire, a light, a power that had lain dormant for too long. She was ready to awaken, ready to embrace the path that had been waiting for her since the day she was born. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Sam stood tall, surrounded by her new family. The wolves moved around her like a living tide, active, loyal, and aware, their amber eyes gleaming in the fading light. She felt her pulse synchronize with theirs, a rhythm older than memory, older than grief, older than time itself. The forest had settled into a gentle hush, the kind that felt sacred, as if the earth itself were breathing alongside her. Sam moved slowly, deliberately, careful not to startle the pack that had begun to circle her with quiet observation. The wolves were not mere animals, they were sentinels of some ancient order, guardians of a knowledge older than human memory, and now, they had claimed her as one of their own. The clearing that had seemed so intimate yesterday now stretched before her as a vast, living cathedral of life. Trees reached high into the sky, their branches intertwined like the fingers of long-forgotten giants, and the ground was a tapestry of fallen leaves, soft moss, and hidden roots that seemed to pulse beneath her feet. Each breath she drew carried the scent of earth and pine, of life and decay, of something older and wilder than she had ever known. The wolves moved around her with a grace and precision that seemed almost choreographed. Their amber and golden eyes followed her movements, noting every step, every shift of weight, every flicker of emotion that passed across her face. She felt their gazes not as judgment, but as measurement, a test of spirit and heart, a careful assessment of the one they had called their princess. A deep rumble echoed through the clearing, vibrating in her chest as much as it did through the forest. The alpha wolf had taken a place at the edge of the semicircle, ears forward, tail swaying slowly. Sam felt the vibration resonate in her own body, a subtle recognition that the power in this place was not only theirs to protect but hers to claim. She crouched down slowly, letting her palms rest on the soft earth. The smaller wolves approached, sniffing her hands and brushing against her legs, their trust building like the gentle patter of rain on a roof. She ran her fingers through their fur, marveling at the texture, the warmth, the heartbeat beneath the fur. Each one felt like a living connection, a thread that tied her to something larger than herself. "You understand me, don't you?" she whispered, more to herself than to them. "Even if I don't understand you yet, I can feel it, some part of me belongs here." The alpha wolf stepped closer, its head brushing hers lightly, a gesture of acknowledgement and reassurance. Yes, it communicated, a voice resonating deep in her mind. You belong. But belonging is only the beginning. To be part of this pack, you must understand it, feel it, live it. Sam's brow furrowed. Understand it? How? I've never. Her voice faltered as the enormity of what she faced pressed upon her. She had grown up among humans, in a world of rules and predictability. This was different, unfathomably different. And yet, despite her fear, a thrill ran through her veins, the kind of excitement that comes from discovering something magical that was always meant for you. The alpha turned, signaling with a subtle tilt of its head. A young black wolf stepped forward, agile and inquisitive. It circled her, careful not to break her balance, then sat back on its haunches, tilting its head in silent question. Sam realized with a start that this was no accident. The wolves were teaching her, showing her the rhythm of the pack, the silent language that had guided them for generations. She crouched to their level, mimicking the posture, feeling the tension in her muscles, the alignment of her breath with theirs. Slowly, she let her mind open, reaching out to feel the subtle cues in the air, the sway of tails, the shift of shoulders, the soft growl of the younger wolves communicating their place in the hierarchy. She was learning, not with words, but with her heart, her instincts, her very presence. The forest seemed to hum around her, as if celebrating the awakening of this connection. Leaves fluttered in gentle eddies, sunlight glinted off dew-laden branches, and somewhere, a distant bird called, its song threading through the trees like a ribbon of melody. Sam closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the rhythm of life that pulsed through the clearing. The wolves moved in synchrony, a living pattern of trust, loyalty, and subtle authority. The alpha approached again, moving beside her, its massive form radiating power and protection. Feel the bond, it communicated. It is not just a connection to us, it is a connection to the forest, to your father, to the blood that runs through you. This is your inheritance, your legacy, your destiny. Sam's hands pressed into the earth as the words resonated in her mind. Her father had always spoken of wolves, of their strength, their intelligence, their loyalty. But she had never imagined this, never imagined that the stories he whispered to her at night, the tales of courage and connection, had been preparing her for this moment, for this life that awaited beyond grief and fear. A sudden rustle in the underbrush drew her attention, and instinctively she froze. The wolves shifted around her, muscles coiled, eyes alert. A figure emerged, a lone wolf, smaller than the alpha but older, scarred, with a cautious grace that spoke of battles fought and survived. It regarded her carefully, amber eyes flicking between her and the alpha. Who is that? Sam asked, even though the answer came in her mind, clear and undeniable. That is your guide among the pack, the alpha replied. He will teach you the ways, the hierarchy, the history. Why? You will learn from him, as you will from us all. Every wolf has a lesson, a memory, a story. They are your family, and through them, you will discover who you truly are. The guide wolf stepped closer, sniffing her hands, then nudging her gently with its head, a gesture of trust, acceptance, and challenge all at once. Sam laughed softly, a sound that felt foreign to the clearing, and reached down to stroke its fur. Then teach me, she whispered. I want to learn. I want to understand. I want to belong. The alpha inclined its head, a motion of approval. It begins with trust, it communicated. And trust begins with presence. Be here, fully. Feel the pack, feel the forest, feel yourself. Learn their rhythms, their movements, their unspoken words. Only then can the bond deepen. Sam sank to the forest floor, sitting cross-legged, letting the wolves gather around her. She closed her eyes, reaching out with senses she hadn't known she possessed, feeling the gentle vibrations of their muscles beneath her fingertips, the subtle shifts of weight, the pulse of life that threaded through them like invisible rivers. Time blurred, the boundaries between self and pack dissolving into something greater. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes, yet the transformation was palpable. She felt the wolves' loyalty, their instincts, their collective memory settle over her like a mantle. She felt her father's presence, his guidance threading through the air, as if he had never truly left. She felt the forest alive, watching, teaching, protecting. And she felt herself awakening to a power she had only glimpsed in dreams, a deep, enduring connection that would define her, shape her, and guide her path. The young black wolf nudged her hand again, a silent question. Sam reached out, fingers brushing its fur, and felt a spark, a pulse of recognition, of acceptance, of bond. She realized then that this was the beginning of something profound. Not just a relationship with the pack, but with herself, with her heritage, with the destiny her father had whispered about all those years ago. Princess of the pack, the alpha murmured, voice threading through her mind like a song. This is only the beginning. Your journey will test you, challenge you, and shape you. But you will not walk it alone. We are with you, always. Sam nodded, a surge of determination flooding through her chest. She was ready to embrace the lessons, ready to accept the bond, ready to awaken fully to the life that had been waiting for her all along. The wolves circled closer, forming a living wall of warmth, strength, and loyalty. She felt their trust, their guidance, their expectation, and she rose to meet it, her own heartbeat matching the rhythm of the pack. The forest exhaled, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of pine and earth, of life and belonging. Sam opened her eyes, gazing at the alpha, the guide, and the rest of the pack. She felt a fire ignite within her, a courage that had lain dormant for too long, a spark of destiny that could no longer be denied. The pack had awakened. She had awakened with it. And together, they would discover the true power of their bond, the strength of family, of loyalty, and of love that transcended the bounds of species, fear, and time itself. And as the sun dipped lower, gilding the treetops with amber light, Sam whispered to the clearing, to the pack, to herself, I am ready. Teach me, guide me, let me be yours, as you are mine. The wolves responded with a soft chorus of growls and whimpers, a language older than words, older than memory, binding them together in ways that defied understanding. And Sam, princess of the pack, felt the first true stirrings of belonging, a connection that would shape her life forever. The forest had grown darker now, the canopy thick with autumn leaves that filtered the late afternoon sunlight into thin, golden slivers. Shadows stretched across the ground like fingers, curling and twisting with every gust of wind. Sam walked slowly through the underbrush, each step deliberate, feeling the soft crunch of fallen leaves beneath her boots and the cool brush of moss on her fingertips. The pack moved around her in a fluid formation, silent and watchful, their senses sharper than any human's. Despite the calm exterior, a tension hung in the air, a subtle unease that Sam could feel deep in her chest. It was not just the forest watching her, it was something more, something unseen, something patient and calculating. The alpha wolf had sensed it first, circling the perimeter of their path with low, cautious growls, ears flicking toward every rustle, every whisper of movement. Sam's pulse quickened. She had learned to trust the pack, to feel their rhythms, their instincts flowing into her, guiding her steps. But this was different. This was danger, a predatory intelligence that even the alpha seemed wary of. She slowed, kneeling on one knee as the wolves formed a protective semicircle around her, their bodies coiled, ready to spring into action. Stay close, she whispered, not only to herself but to the pack, feeling their energy respond to hers. The silver-gray guide wolf padded closer, brushing against her leg as if to reassure her. She reached down and stroked its fur, feeling the steady heartbeat beneath her palm. We face it together, she murmured. A sudden crack echoed through the trees, a sharp snap of a branch underfoot, and the pack froze. Every head turned in unison, ears pricked, eyes narrowing. Sam's breath caught in her throat. The forest seemed to grow still, holding its breath. The wind stilled, the leaves suspended in midair. And then she saw it. Shadows moving between the trees, figures she could not yet define, but whose presence radiated threat. Hunters, the alpha communicated, the word carrying a weight that made Sam's chest tighten. She had heard stories of humans who would track and trap wolves for sport or profit, but to see the signs of their intrusion, broken branches, disturbed undergrowth, the faint metallic glint of traps, made the threat frighteningly real. The guide wolf stepped forward, positioning itself between Sam and the approaching danger. Its fur bristled, muscles coiled, eyes blazing with intelligence and determination. Princess, it communicated, its voice steady and commanding in her mind, you must trust us. Watch, learn, react. This is the first trial. Sam nodded, swallowing hard. Fear surged through her, but beneath it was something stronger, the spark of courage that had been kindled by the pack. She had felt their trust, their loyalty, their bond. And now it was time to honor that bond, not as a frightened girl, but as the princess of the pack. The shadows moved closer, and Sam could make out the shapes of men, dressed in muted colors, their eyes cold and calculating, their hands gripping ropes and metal implements designed to harm. Her stomach knotted, but she remained still, letting the wolves take the lead. The alpha gave a low, guttural growl, and the hunters faltered, sensing the presence of creatures far more powerful than they had anticipated. Sam's heart pounded. She had never experienced fear like this, pure, raw, immediate, but she also felt the strange, exhilarating rush of power that came from standing at the center of a living, breathing force. She could feel the wolves' energy flowing through her, syncing with her heartbeat, guiding her breath, sharpening her senses. She could hear the faintest rustle of leaves, the subtle shift of wind, the almost imperceptible click of a trap being set. "Princess," the alpha murmured, "now." At the signal, the pack moved. It was a fluid, breathtaking display of coordination and instinct. Wolves darted from the shadows, emerging with astonishing speed, forming barriers, circling the hunters, teeth bared, growls vibrating through the forest like rolling thunder. Sam felt a surge of adrenaline and instinct. She didn't need to think, her body reacted before her mind fully processed. She crouched, low to the ground, moving in tandem with the pack, guiding them with subtle shifts of her weight, a gesture here, a glance there. The hunters stumbled, caught off guard by the precision and intelligence of the pack. One lunged forward with a net, but a silver-gray wolf leapt in, knocking it aside with a force that sent the man sprawling into the underbrush. Another tried to set a trap, only to find it disarmed, teeth and claws tearing through ropes and metal with alarming speed. Sam's breath came fast, but steady. She had learned from the pack how to anticipate movement, how to read the forest, how to become part of the rhythm of life around her. Yet, amid the chaos, a sense of unease lingered. One hunter had vanished into the trees, moving silently, his presence almost ghost-like. The alpha's eyes flicked toward him, muscles tensing, ears swiveling. Sam felt it too, the subtle shift in the forest, a shadow sliding along the ground, a predatory patience that was far more dangerous than brute force. She realized then that this trial was more than just physical, it was a test of her awareness, her instinct, her connection to the pack and the forest. She had relied on the wolves before, but now she needed to trust herself as well, to become fully attuned to the rhythms that had guided them for generations. The guide wolf circled her, tail low, eyes flicking toward the hidden hunter. Sam mirrored its movements, letting her body respond naturally, letting her senses absorb every sound, every vibration, every shift in the air. She could hear the faintest crack of a twig beneath the man's foot, feel the tension in the air as he prepared to strike, anticipate the direction of his approach. And then, with a surge of instinct and courage, she moved. She stepped forward, placing herself in the path of the hunter, her voice ringing out clear and commanding, though she did not fully understand how she had found it. "Leave this place. Now." The words seemed to carry a force beyond mere speech. The hunter froze, eyes wide with disbelief, as if the forest itself had spoken through her. The alpha stepped beside her, growl rumbling deep in its chest, and the rest of the pack surged forward in unison, forming an unbreakable barrier between Sam and the intruder. The hunter turned, fleeing into the shadows, and the pack gave chase, their movements precise, controlled, and lethal in their efficiency. Sam watched, chest heaving, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins, until the forest returned to its quiet state, the threat dissipated like smoke on the wind. She sank to her knees, overwhelmed by the intensity of what had just passed. The wolves gathered around her, nuzzling, brushing against her legs, their presence comforting and grounding. The alpha lowered its head to hers, amber eyes soft with approval. "You faced danger," it communicated. "And you did not falter. This is only the beginning, princess. The forest is full of trials. But you are learning." Sam closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks, not from fear, but from the raw, unfiltered intensity of connection she felt with the pack. She realized that she was no longer the girl who had knelt at her father's grave, uncertain and alone. She was becoming something stronger, something braver, something bound to the forest, the wolves, and the legacy of her bloodline. The guide wolf nudged her gently, as if sensing her need for reassurance. Sam reached out, pressing her hands into its fur, feeling the steady heartbeat beneath her palms. "Thank you," she whispered. "For trusting me. For letting me belong." The alpha watched her with a quiet intensity, the words clear in her mind. "Belonging is earned through courage, loyalty, and heart. You have shown all three. But there will be more tests. The pack awakens with you, princess. And together, you will face them all." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The chill of evening settled over the clearing, but Sam felt warmth, strength, courage, and the unbreakable bond of the pack surrounding her. She rose slowly, brushing leaves from her coat, heart steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her. The forest whispered around her, alive and attentive, carrying the scent of earth and fur, of life and survival. The pack moved with her, a living tide of loyalty and protection, their amber eyes gleaming in the dimming light. And for the first time, Sam truly understood. The shadows of danger would always exist, lurking at the edges of the forest, testing, challenging, threatening. But she was no longer alone. She had the pack. She had herself. She had courage. And as the first stars began to pierce the twilight sky, Sam, princess of the pack, felt a surge of determination. The forest was her home, the wolves her family, and no shadow, no threat, no fear could shake the bond that had awakened within her. The trials would come. She would face them. And she would rise. The forest had grown quiet once more, the aftermath of the hunter's intrusion leaving a hushed tension in the air, as if the trees themselves were watching and remembering the events that had unfolded. Sam walked slowly through the clearing, each step deliberate, feeling the soft underbrush beneath her boots and the lingering warmth of the pack's presence around her. The alpha walked beside her, a silent sentinel, while the younger wolves flanked her, their eyes alert, their ears twitching at every faint sound. Despite the calm, Sam's mind was anything but. The events of the day had shaken her in ways she could not yet fully comprehend. The fear, the adrenaline, the unity of the pack, and the inexplicable bond that pulsed through her very being, it all left her feeling raw and unsteady. But beneath it all was a strange, compelling curiosity, a need to understand her father, her heritage, and the destiny that now seemed inseparably tied to these wolves. She paused at the edge of a small clearing, where a fallen tree created a natural bench. The alpha sat beside her, and the guide wolf curled at her feet. The other wolves moved in a protective circle around them, alert and watchful, as though aware that something of great importance was about to unfold. "Princess," the alpha communicated, its voice steady and calm in her mind, "you have faced your first trials. But knowledge is also a test. You must understand where you come from to know where you are going. Your father left more than memories behind. He left guidance, hidden and waiting for you." Sam's pulse quickened. Her father had always been a man of quiet strength, a protector of both people and nature, a man who had loved her fiercely but had also shielded her from truths she was not ready to hear. Now, standing amidst the pack, she felt that the time for hidden truths had come. The guide wolf moved forward, sniffing the ground near a cluster of roots. It pawed at the earth, revealing a small, weathered box partially buried beneath the soil and leaves. Sam's eyes widened as she bent down, brushing away the dirt to reveal a wooden container etched with intricate markings, symbols that seemed oddly familiar, as if they had been whispered to her in dreams. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the box, and the alpha's presence seemed to steady her. She opened it slowly, revealing a collection of letters, journals, and a small pendant shaped like a wolf's head. The leather-bound journal was worn, edges frayed, the ink faded but still legible. She took a deep breath and began to read. The first entry was in her father's familiar handwriting. "If you are reading this, my dearest Sam, it means you have returned. The forest has called you, and the pack has awakened. You must understand that you are part of something greater than yourself. The wolves you see are not merely animals, they are keepers of an ancient bond, protectors of a legacy that flows through your blood. You are the princess of the pack, not by chance, but by destiny. Our family has guarded this secret for generations. And now, it is your turn." Tears pricked Sam's eyes as she traced the letters with her fingers, feeling her father's presence in every stroke. She had always felt a connection to the forest, a deep affinity for wolves, but she had never understood why. Now, the pieces began to fall into place, the stories her father told, the lessons in patience, courage, and respect for the wild. They had been preparing her for this moment, for this life. She continued reading, each entry revealing more of the truth, the history of the pack, the role her father had played as a bridge between human and wolf, the threats they had faced, and the promises he had made to protect the forest and its guardians. The journals spoke of trials, of battles fought and lost, and of the hope that one day his daughter would return to fulfill the destiny he could not. As she read, Sam felt the guide wolf nuzzle her hand, a gentle reminder that she was not alone. The alpha's amber eyes held hers, patient and unwavering, and she realized that the bond she had felt all along was more than instinct, it was legacy. She was the inheritor of her father's strength, his wisdom, and his love. The pendant caught her eye, a small, intricately carved wolf's head. She held it in her hand, feeling a pulse of warmth radiate through her fingers, as if the forest itself recognized her as its own. The alpha moved closer, brushing against her shoulder. That belonged to your father, it communicated. It carries his essence, his protection. Wear it, and you will carry his strength. Sam clasped the pendant around her neck, feeling a surge of courage and clarity. She was no longer just a girl at a grave, uncertain and alone. She was part of a legacy that transcended human and wolf, past and present, fear and courage. She was princess of the pack. A rustle in the underbrush made her glance up, alert. The forest seemed to shift, the wind carrying whispers of movement, of life, of things hidden in shadow. The alpha and guide wolf tensed, ears swiveling, muscles coiling. Danger, subtle and patient, was never far from the forest, and Sam realized that understanding her past was not enough. She would also need to embrace her strength, her instincts, and the bond she shared with the pack. But for the first time, fear did not consume her. Instead, she felt a deep, steady confidence, born of knowledge, connection, and love. She had inherited her father's courage and his wisdom. She had the pack at her side. She had the forest as her guide. And she was ready. The alpha stepped forward, its gaze unwavering. You have learned much today, princess. But knowledge is only the beginning. Understanding the past will guide your choices, but the future will demand more. You must be ready to face what comes, for the pack, for the forest, and for yourself. Sam rose, the journal clutched to her chest, the pendant resting against her heart. She felt the weight of her father's legacy, the strength of the pack, and the stirrings of a power within her that she had only begun to understand. The forest seemed to acknowledge her, the rustle of leaves a soft chorus, the wind a gentle hymn, the distant howl of wolves carrying through the trees like a promise. She looked around at the pack, their eyes glowing with loyalty, their bodies poised and alert, and felt a surge of love and determination. She was ready to face the trials, to learn the secrets of the forest, and to embrace the destiny that had been waiting for her all along. Guide me, she whispered to the alpha, to the forest, to the spirit of her father. Teach me, protect me, and let me become what I am meant to be. The alpha inclined its head, a silent promise of guidance and protection. The guide wolf pressed close, nudging her gently, while the rest of the pack closed around her in a living circle of warmth, strength, and loyalty. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor, and the air was alive with possibility. Sam, princess of the pack, felt the weight of her past, the strength of her present, and the promise of a future that was hers to claim. She was no longer a child lost in grief. She was a leader in the making, a bond between worlds, a living testament to her father's love and vision. And as the stars began to appear, shimmering like distant fires in the night sky, Sam understood at last. The secrets of the past were not chains to hold her, but wings to lift her. She was ready to soar, ready to embrace her destiny, ready to lead the pack into a future where courage, loyalty, and love would guide every step. The forest whispered around her, alive with anticipation. The pack waited, patient and unwavering. And Sam, heart steady and spirit alight, knew that the journey had only just begun. Dawn broke slowly over the forest, spilling a pale gold across the treetops and casting long, fractured shadows along the forest floor. Mist clung to the undergrowth, curling around the roots of ancient oaks and the moss-covered stones that dotted the clearing. Sam stood at the center, the morning chill biting at her cheeks, yet she felt a warmth deeper than the sun could provide, the steady, unyielding presence of the pack around her. The alpha moved silently beside her, a shadow of power and reassurance, while the guide wolf trotted slightly ahead, nose to the wind, alert to every whisper of motion. The rest of the pack followed in formation, each wolf's eyes fixed on Sam, their loyalty palpable. She had come far in a few short days, but the trials were only beginning. The forest demanded more than courage, it demanded understanding, instinct, and leadership. "You are ready," the alpha communicated, its amber eyes locking onto hers. But readiness is not measured by courage alone. It is measured by how you guide, how you listen, how you protect. Today, you will learn the first trial of leadership. Sam swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders. Her father's words echoed in her mind, faint but clear. A leader is not only strong, but wise. Listen before you act. Observe before you command. Protect those who trust you. She had never understood fully what he meant, but now, standing amidst 25 wolves who looked to her for direction, she began to grasp the gravity of those lessons. The forest seemed to sense the coming test. The mist thickened slightly, shrouding the trees in a veil of secrecy, and the wind carried scents of distant predators, hidden dangers, and unknown trials. Sam's heartbeat quickened, not with fear, but with anticipation. She had the pack, she had the forest, and she had herself. Yet she knew instinctively that this trial would push all three to their limits. The guide wolf darted ahead, disappearing briefly into the fog before returning with a cautious glance at Sam. Something had stirred deeper in the forest, a presence both familiar and foreign, predatory yet calculated. The alpha signaled the pack to fan out, forming a protective semicircle around Sam, their muscles coiled, ready to act. Observe first, the alpha instructed. Do not act blindly. Leadership begins with awareness. Sam crouched, letting her hands brush the forest floor, feeling the pulse of life beneath her fingertips. She inhaled the scents of moss, wet leaves, and distant pine, letting her senses expand beyond the human limitations she had once accepted. She could feel the subtle vibrations of movement through the earth, the quiet shifts in the air as creatures of the forest stirred, and, faint but undeniable, the presence of something lurking just beyond her sight. Hours, or perhaps minutes, time was difficult to measure here, passed in a delicate rhythm of observation. The wolves moved with fluid precision, responding to cues Sam could now feel in her own body, guiding them with subtle gestures, with the tilt of her head, with the shift of her weight. She realized, with growing awe, that the bond she shared with the pack was not only emotional but instinctive. Their rhythm flowed through her, threading her heartbeat with theirs, making her part of a living, breathing whole. And then, the trial revealed itself. A figure, a predator, larger and more cunning than the hunters she had faced before, emerged from the fog. Its fur was dark as midnight, eyes glinting with intelligence and malice, and its stance radiated power. This was no ordinary threat. This was a creature that had mastered the forest, that moved like shadow and silence, and that had tested the pack's limits before. The alpha growled low, a warning and a call to action. The pack shifted instantly, forming defensive positions, muscles rippling, teeth bared, tails rigid. Sam's pulse surged. Fear flickered at the edges of her mind, but it was tempered by the steady warmth of the pack around her. She could feel their confidence, their trust, their anticipation. And she realized then that leadership was not about domination or control, it was about presence, awareness, and unity. Guide them, the alpha communicated. You are their center, their anchor. Your decisions shape their actions. Sam nodded, her hands brushing the earth, grounding herself, connecting with the pulse of the forest and the rhythm of the pack. She inhaled deeply, centering herself, and then rose slowly, her movements deliberate, commanding without force, directing without fear. The guide wolf circled the predator cautiously, testing, gauging, and Sam mirrored its actions, subtle shifts of weight and gaze guiding the pack's responses. The creature lunged suddenly, a blur of dark fur and predatory precision. The wolves responded instantly, a coordinated dance of strength, speed, and instinct. Sam's mind expanded in a way she had never known possible. She could anticipate movements, sense shifts in balance, feel the predator's intent before it acted. She guided the pack with gestures, with focus, with the quiet authority that came from belonging, from understanding, from awakening. The fight was a blur of motion and instinct. Wolves moved like living shadows, flanking, countering, circling, while Sam remained the anchor, the center of their coordination. The predator was strong, but the pack was stronger, and under Sam's guidance, they began to push it back, forcing it toward the edge of the clearing. Breath came in ragged bursts, but Sam felt a surge of exhilaration. This was the first real test, not just of courage or strength, but of leadership, of connection, of presence. She had guided them, and they had followed. Not out of fear, but out of trust, respect, and shared purpose. Finally, with a powerful coordinated effort, the predator retreated into the shadows, its eyes gleaming with acknowledgement rather than defeat. The forest seemed to exhale, the mist thinning, the golden light of morning filtering through the trees once more. The pack relaxed slightly, bodies still tense but poised, alert yet reassured. Sam sank to her knees, exhausted but elated. The guide wolf pressed against her, and she rested her hand on its head, feeling the steady heartbeat beneath her palm. The alpha came closer, amber eyes glowing with pride. "You have done well, princess." This trial was not just of strength, but of awareness, courage, and unity. You guided the pack with your presence. You were becoming the leader you were meant to be. Tears pricked Sam's eyes, not of fear or fatigue, but of deep, overwhelming joy. She had faced the first real test of her destiny, and she had not faltered. She had embraced her bond with the pack, her connection to the forest, and her own growing power. She realized that leadership was not about commanding with force, it was about guiding with heart, understanding with intuition, and inspiring trust with presence. The sun climbed higher, casting the forest in bright light. The pack gathered around her, bodies brushing against hers, their loyalty and affection palpable. She felt their warmth, their strength, their unwavering trust. She had faced the shadows of the forest and emerged stronger, wiser, more connected than ever before. The alpha's voice echoed softly in her mind, a promise and a challenge intertwined. More trials await, princess. More dangers, more lessons, more growth. But you have shown the courage, the wisdom, and the heart to face them. The forest is yours as much as it is ours. Lead, protect, and awaken fully. The path is before you, and together, we will walk it. Sam rose, the morning light glinting in her eyes. She felt the pulse of the forest beneath her feet, the strength of the pack surrounding her, and the fire of determination blazing within her chest. She was no longer just a girl who had knelt at her father's grave. She was princess of the pack, a leader in the making, a bond between worlds, a force that would shape the forest and all who lived within it. And as the first birds called from the treetops, the forest alive with sound and life, Sam took her first true steps into leadership, guided by instinct, love, and the unwavering bond of the pack. The trials of the forest had begun. And she was ready. The forest was restless. Dawn had barely broken, casting a pale silver light across the dew-laden undergrowth, when Sam felt it, a subtle shift in the air, the kind that makes every nerve in the body tingle with anticipation. The wind carried the scent of smoke, earth, and something darker, something unfamiliar that slithered beneath the usual harmony of the woodland. Her heart beat faster, but it was not fear that surged through her, it was instinct, sharpened and guided by the bond she shared with the pack. The alpha circled her slowly, amber eyes narrowing, muscles taut beneath its fur. The guide wolf padded closer, brushing against her leg in reassurance. The other wolves spread slightly, moving into positions of observation, ears flicking, noses to the wind. They had learned to read her as she had learned to read them, a dance of trust and understanding that transcended words. "This presence is different," the alpha communicated, its voice deep and resonant in her mind. "It is not the hunters we have faced before. It is something older, more cunning, and more dangerous. Today's trial will test not only your leadership but your courage, your instincts, and your heart." Sam's chest tightened, yet beneath the tension was a calm certainty. She had survived before, she had led before, and she had learned from the bond of the pack. She drew in a deep breath, letting it fill her lungs, letting the forest's rhythm seep into her bones, syncing her heartbeat to the pulse of life around her. The first sign came as a rustling in the dense underbrush. Sam froze, every fiber of her being alert. Then came another, soft footfalls that moved with deliberate, measured precision. The alpha growled, low and warning, and the rest of the pack tensed as one, a living, breathing shield of instinct and strength. From the mist emerged figures cloaked in shadow, not men or hunters, but wolves unlike any Sam had encountered. Their fur was black as night, eyes gleaming with intelligence, malice, and authority. They moved with a fluid, predatory grace, circling the clearing, testing the edges of the pack's formation. Sam realized instantly, these were outsiders, intruders, challengers to her fledgling authority. You must hold them, the Alpha communicated. Leadership is not only guidance but protection. Your bond with the pack must be stronger than fear, stronger than threat. Sam squared her shoulders, letting her presence radiate outward. She could feel the energy of the forest, the pulse of the earth, and the loyalty of the wolves flowing into her. Her instincts sharpened, her senses heightened. Every movement of the intruders, every flick of a tail, every subtle shift in the wind became part of a map she could navigate without thought. The black wolves advanced, testing the pack's resolve. They circled, eyes flicking toward Sam, teeth bared, and a low growl rolled through the clearing. The Alpha growled in response, a sound that vibrated through Sam's chest, merging with her heartbeat, filling her with a steady, undeniable courage. Lead them, the Alpha urged. Do not falter. Show the pack they can trust your guidance, even when danger comes from beyond. Sam stepped forward, hands outstretched, a gesture of calm authority. She did not speak, for words were unnecessary, her presence alone carried command. The pack shifted to align with her movements, bodies coiling, eyes fixed, breaths synchronized. She guided them with subtle motions, slight shifts of weight, and a gentle tilt of her head. The outsiders hesitated, sensing a force stronger than mere instinct or aggression. The confrontation was electric, tension crackling like lightning through the forest. Sam felt the pack's fear, their caution, and their readiness, and she mirrored it, anchoring them, binding them with her calm, deliberate presence. She realized then that leadership was not about dominance, it was about harmony, about channeling strength, about being the center of focus and confidence that others could rely upon. Suddenly, one of the black wolves lunged forward, testing the perimeter. The guide wolf intercepted, teeth flashing, muscles coiling with precision. Sam's heart surged with instinctive awareness. She did not need to command, her presence guided the pack, her bond directing every action with perfi. Court synchronicity. The fight was not chaotic, it was a dance, a test of wills, a clash of determination, courage, and respect. Hours, or perhaps moments, for time had become fluid in the forest, passed in this tense standoff. The black wolves probed, circled, and tested the pack's cohesion, while Sam maintained focus, guiding, protecting, leading. She felt the power of her father's legacy coursing through her, the strength of the pack reinforcing her every decision, the forest itself bending subtly to her awareness. Then, in a sudden, coordinated effort, the Alpha and Sam acted together. She stepped forward, voice steady and resonant, not a shout, but a call that carried the authority of the pack and the forest. The black wolves froze, ears pricked, eyes narrowing. The Alpha followed with a thunderous growl, while the guide wolf and the rest of the pack formed an unbreakable wall. The intruders hesitated. They had not anticipated the unity, the strength, or the authority of the princess of the pack. Slowly, they retreated into the shadows, melting into the mist, leaving the clearing and the pack unchallenged, yet aware that this bond, this leadership, was something formidable beyond their comprehension. Sam sank to her knees, her chest heaving, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The pack gathered around her, pressing close, brushing against her legs, tails sweeping softly over the earth. The Alpha's amber eyes met hers, warm and approving. You have faced challenge, princess, it communicated. And you have not faltered. You guided us. You protected us. You are awakening fully to the strength and wisdom within you. Tears blurred her vision, but they were not tears of fear. They were tears of recognition, of awe, of understanding. She realized that she was no longer the girl who had knelt at her father's grave, uncertain and alone. She was a leader, a protector, a bond between worlds, a force the forest and the pack could trust. The guide wolf nudged her gently, brushing against her hand, and Sam reached down to stroke its fur. Thank you, she whispered. For trusting me, for letting me grow, for letting me lead. The Alpha's presence remained close, steady and unwavering. Trials will continue, princess. There will be challenges beyond comprehension, threats that test courage, loyalty, and heart. But you have proven that you are ready to face them. Together, the pack and you are stronger than any danger that comes from outside. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist and bathing the forest in golden light. Sam rose slowly, brushing leaves and dew from her coat, feeling the rhythm of the forest beneath her feet, the strength of the pack around her, and the fire of determination within her chest. She understood at last, the foe. Rest would always hold shadows, dangers, and challenges. But she was no longer just a girl lost in grief and uncertainty. She was the princess of the pack, a leader of extraordinary courage, a bond of life, strength, and loyalty. The forest, the pack, and her destiny were intertwined, and together, they could face whatever darkness emerged from the shadows. And as the birds began to sing in the treetops and the sunlight filtered through the leaves, Sam walked forward, heart steady, spirit ignited, and the pack at her side, ready for whatever trials awaited. The forest was bathed in the soft, golden glow of late afternoon, the sun filtering through the trees in fractured beams that danced across the mossy floor. Sam moved slowly, deliberately, her senses alive to every whisper of wind, every rustle of leaves, every subtle shift in the air. The pack followed her rhythm, their presence a living tide of loyalty and strength, muscles rippling beneath fur, eyes glinting with intelligence and trust. Yet despite the outward calm, Sam felt a tension threading through her chest, a quiet anxiety that had little to do with the forest and everything to do with herself. Leadership, she had learned, demanded courage, but heart demanded something far more complicated, the ability to protect, to forgive, to love, and to sacrifice. And today, she sensed, she would be tested not by outside danger, but by the quiet, invisible trials of emotion and trust. The alpha walked beside her, its amber eyes locked on hers, reading her shifts in mood and presence as acutely as it did the movements of the pack. There is more to leading than guiding or protecting, it communicated. You must understand the heart of the pack. You must know who you are to them, and who they are to you. The true trial begins within. Sam inhaled deeply, letting the scent of pine and earth fill her lungs, centering herself. The guide wolf padded ahead, nose to the wind, alert and vigilant, while the rest of the pack spread slightly, moving with quiet grace through the underbrush. She followed, letting her instincts guide her steps, feeling the subtle pulse of life beneath her feet, the hum of the forest threading through her bones. They came to a clearing bathed in golden light, where a small stream gurgled over smooth stones, the water catching the sun in fleeting flashes of brilliance. Sam knelt beside it, letting her fingers trail through the cool liquid, feeling the gentle current brush against her skin. The pack gathered around, some lying down, some sitting, but all watching her with unwavering attention. It was then that the test began. A whimper echoed through the trees, faint, desperate, filled with pain. Sam's ears perked, and her heart tightened. The guide wolf moved toward the sound, and Sam rose, following instinctively. The whimper led them to a small hollow near the roots of an ancient oak, where a young wolf pup lay trapped, its leg caught in a crude snare. Its fur was matted with blood, eyes wide with fear, and it trembled violently. Sam's chest ached. She knelt beside the pup, gently brushing back its fur, assessing the injury. The pack pressed close, nuzzling her, their presence a reassuring shield. "I've got you," she whispered, her voice soft but resolute. "I won't let anything happen to you." The alpha circled cautiously, signaling with subtle gestures that Sam must be careful. "Trust is built in moments like these," it communicated. "Do not let fear guide your hands. Let heart and reason guide them together." Sam reached for the snare, her hands steady despite the pounding of her heart. She cut the ropes carefully, feeling the strain of metal and tension, listening to the subtle warning growls of the alpha and guide wolf. Finally, the snare fell away, and the pup limped free, whimpering, shaking, but alive. Sam scooped it into her arms, cradling it gently, feeling the rapid heartbeat against her chest. "You see," the alpha communicated, "heart is not weakness. It is courage. Compassion is strength. To lead, you must protect not just with force, but with care. To bond with the pack, you must be willing to open yourself, to risk pain, and to embrace connection fully." Sam nodded, tears prickling her eyes. She had always been taught to be careful, to guard her heart, to protect herself above all. Yet here, surrounded by the pack, feeling their trust and their dependence on her, she understood that vulnerability was not weakness, it was a bridge. By opening her heart, she had strengthened the bond, not only with this pup, but with every wolf that looked to her for guidance. The young wolf pup nuzzled against her, and she smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. The alpha moved closer, pressing its massive head against her shoulder in quiet approval, while the guide wolf padded around them in a protective circle. The rest of the pack settled, tails brushing against one another, eyes bright with trust and curiosity. It was then, in the quiet aftermath of rescue and compassion, that Sam felt something stir deep within her, an awareness of more than instinct, more than leadership. She felt the pull of connection beyond the pack, beyond guidance and protection. A presence lingered near the edge of the clearing, one that was familiar yet charged with emotion. Someone who had been observing, waiting, their heart and spirit intertwined with the forest and the pack. Sam turned her gaze and found him, a lone wolf from the shadows they had faced in previous trials, but different now. His eyes met hers, amber meeting amber, and in that moment, she felt recognition, understanding, and something deeper, a connection that went beyond the physical. He stepped forward cautiously, and she sensed no threat, only a quiet, electric curiosity. Princess of the pack, the alpha's voice threaded through her mind, your bond extends beyond these wolves. Heart is not only loyalty, but connection. Trust is not only given to kin, but to those who prove their intent. You will learn that strength is measured not only by courage, but by love, understanding, and restraint. Sam's fingers stroked the pup's fur, then slowly, deliberately, she extended a hand toward the lone wolf. The forest seemed to hold its breath as he approached, nose twitching, muscles tensed yet controlled. Slowly, he accepted her gesture, pressing his head against her palm, eyes softening. She felt a surge of warmth and awareness, an understanding that bonds were built in moments of risk, in acts of care, in shared courage. The pack watched, silent and attentive, their presence a living testament to the lessons Sam was learning. She understood now that leadership, connection, and heart were inseparable. She was no longer just a protector, she was a guide, a bridge, a center of trust and compassion. And in that realization, she felt the pulse of destiny, her father's legacy, and the awakening of power within her. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows and bathing the clearing in amber light. Sam rose, carrying the pup gently, her eyes sweeping across the pack and the lone wolf who had joined them. She felt the weight of responsibility, yes, but also the depth of connection, the bond that would carry her through trials, challenges, and dangers yet unseen. Heart is courage, the alpha whispered. Heart is trust. Heart is connection. And you, princess, have shown that yours beats in harmony with the pack. Sam's lips curved in a small, determined smile. She understood now that the trials were not only about strength or skill, they were about trust, loyalty, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. She had faced fear, she had led, and she had opened her heart. And in doing so, she had strengthened the pack, herself, and the forest itself. The mist rose gently from the stream, curling through the trees like whispered secrets. The wolves gathered around her, tails brushing, bodies close, eyes bright with unwavering trust. And Sam, princess of the pack, protector, leader, and heart, felt the fire of courage, connection, and destiny ignite within her. The forest was alive, and she was its heart, its courage, its bond. The trials were far from over, but she had learned the most important lesson yet. To lead with heart was to lead with strength, and to protect with love was to command the loyalty of all who trusted her. And as the first stars began to pierce the twilight sky, Sam walked forward, the pack at her side, her heart wide open, ready to face whatever shadows, dangers, or trials awaited. The sky darkened unnaturally early that day, a heavy blanket of clouds rolling over the forest, casting long, twisting shadows across the trees. The air was thick with the scent of rain and something fouler, a tang of danger that clung to the undergrowth and drifted on the wind. Sam moved carefully, alert to every sound, the distant drip of water from leaves, the faint rustle of branches, the whisper of the wind against her skin. The pack flanked her, alert, bodies low and coiled, eyes scanning the shadows with uncanny precision. Something had shifted in the forest. Sam could feel it, a malignant presence threading through the trees, moving like smoke, patient, calculating, and hungry. It was stronger than the hunters, fiercer than the black wolves, and infinitely more dangerous. Her heart beat faster, but the rhythm of the pack beneath her hands, the warmth of their bodies brushing against her legs, steadied her. She was no longer alone, and this trial, she realized, would demand everything she had learned, and more. The alpha moved silently beside her, amber eyes fixed on the horizon. Its voice echoed in her mind, steady and commanding. "Princess, the storm approaches. It is a force unlike any you have faced. Its intent is destruction, its patience endless. You must lead, protect, and awaken fully to the strength that lies within you." Sam swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her destiny settle onto her shoulders like an invisible mantle. She had faced hunters, outsiders, and cunning predators, but this was different. This was a force that tested courage, strategy, and heart all at once. She inhaled deeply, centering herself, grounding her awareness in the rhythm of the forest, in the pulse of the pack, and in the growing strength within her. A low rumble echoed through the trees, distant but growing louder, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The pack tensed, ears pricked, muscles coiled. Sam could sense movement beyond the fog and shadow, shapes gliding silently between the trunks, creatures of darkness that exuded malevolence, intelligent and precise, their eyes glinting with hunger and malice. "Do not falter, princess," the alpha urged. "The pack will follow you, but you must see, act, and guide. Every choice shapes the outcome. Your courage will be tested beyond limits, your heart beyond endurance." Sam nodded, the words sinking into her, fusing with every beat of her own heart. She raised her hand slightly, not to strike, but to focus the presence and attention of the pack. Their eyes met hers, and in that silent communion, she felt the full weight of her responsibility. They trusted not blindly, but with complete faith in her judgment and connection. And she would not let them down. The creatures emerged from the shadows, 20 of them, larger than ordinary wolves, their fur black as midnight, eyes glowing with unnatural light. Their snarls cut through the heavy air, reverberating across the clearing. The alpha growled, a deep, resonant sound that sent vibrations through Sam's chest, and the pack shifted in formation, muscles rippling, teeth bared, ready to defend their princess. Sam inhaled sharply, feeling the bond with the pack pulse through her like a living thing. This was the culmination of every trial she had faced, every lesson learned, every bond forged. She was no longer merely a guide or protector. She was the anchor, the heartbeat, the central force that would hold the pack together against the storm. The first attack came swift and merciless. A massive shadow lunged from the trees, teeth bared, eyes blazing. The guide wolf intercepted, body coiling with a speed and precision Sam had never fully appreciated until now. She mirrored its movement instinctively, guiding the rest of the pack, coordinating their counterattacks with subtle gestures, shifts of weight, and the quiet authority of presence. The forest became a symphony of motion, sound, and instinct. Wolves moved as one, flowing around threats, striking with coordinated precision, retreating when necessary, and pressing forward again under Sam's steady guidance. She could feel the energy of the pack in her veins, their instincts merging with her own, their courage fueling hers. Every sense was heightened, sight, smell, hearing, intuition, and she reacted before the mind could fully process, a seamless extension of the pack itself. Yet even as they fought, Sam sensed something deeper, something that went beyond brute force. The creatures were not mindless, they tested strategy, exploited openings, and sought to divide the pack. Sam realized that her leadership must extend beyond instinct, it required planning, foresight, and heart. She called upon every lesson she had learned, every connection she had forged, and every bond that pulsed between her and the wolves. Together, she whispered, voice carrying over the clash, steady and calm. "We are stronger together. Move as one, fight as one, survive as one." The pack surged, a living tide of fur, teeth, and muscle, striking in perfect unison. The creatures faltered, confused by the cohesion and coordination that Sam had inspired. But the fight was far from over. One of the shadows broke free of the perimeter, racing toward Sam herself. She felt a jolt of fear, not paralyzing, but sharp, clarifying, galvanizing. The alpha lunged, intercepting the attacker, but Sam acted as well. She called upon the power she had felt growing within her since the discovery of her father's legacy, the pulse of the forest and the pack intertwined with her own heartbeat. She raised her hands, projecting focus and intent, a force that was not physical but palpable, commanding the attention and respect of the intruder. The shadow hesitated, then faltered, its aggression wavering under the strength of her presence. Sam felt the bond, the connection, and the legacy of her bloodline awaken fully. She could sense the rhythm of the forest, the strength of the pack, and the courage within herself, merging into a single, undeniable force. Slowly, deliberately, she guided the creatures back, toward the edges of the forest. The pack pressed, her voice and presence directing every movement, until the shadows finally retreated, dissolving into the mists of the trees, leaving the clearing quiet once more. Sam sank to her knees, the adrenaline ebbing, her chest heaving, tears streaming down her face, tears of relief, triumph, and recognition. The pack gathered around her, bodies brushing against hers, eyes bright with unwavering trust and loyalty. The alpha lowered its massive head, pressing against her shoulder. "You have faced the ultimate storm, princess," it communicated. "And you have not faltered. You have led, protected, and awakened fully. Your heart, your courage, and your bond with the pack are now undeniable. You are the princess of the pack, and this forest belongs as much to you as it does to us." Sam nodded, her gaze sweeping across the pack, her heart swelling with love and pride. She realized then that true strength was not just in fighting, but in connection, trust, loyalty, courage, and heart. She had faced the storm, protected the pack, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more fully herself. The forest exhaled, the mist lifting, sunlight piercing through the canopy once more. The pack pressed close, tails sweeping, ears flicking, bodies relaxed but alert, and Sam felt a surge of belonging and destiny intertwine in a way she had never imagined. She was no longer the girl who had knelt at her father's grave. She was a leader, a protector, and the heart of the pack. And as the first stars began to shimmer in the twilight sky, Sam rose, the pack at her side, her spirit ignited, her heart steady, ready for the final chapter of her journey, the chapter of fulfillment, homecoming, and the promise of peace. The first light of morning crept gently across the forest, spilling gold and rose through the tall pines, illuminating the dew-kissed undergrowth. The air was crisp and fragrant, filled with the songs of waking birds and the soft rustle of leaves. Sam stood at the edge of a clearing, the weight of the past trials heavy upon her shoulders, yet tempered by an unshakable sense of peace. She had survived storms, shadows, and threats that tested her very soul. She had risen as leader, protector, and heart of the pack. Today, however, the forest seemed to hum with quiet celebration, as if acknowledging her triumph. The alpha padded beside her, massive and steady, muscles rippling beneath fur that glistened in the morning sun. The guide wolf moved closer, nudging her hand gently, a reminder of the trust and connection that had grown between them over days of trials, hardships, and victories. Around them, the pack stirred, tails brushing the forest floor, eyes bright, ears alert yet relaxed, a living, breathing testament to loyalty, courage, and unity. Sam closed her eyes briefly, letting the gentle warmth of the sun touch her face. Her heart, once heavy with grief and uncertainty, now pulsed with clarity. She felt the presence of her father in the breeze, in the gentle sway of the trees, in the pulse of the forest itself. Every lesson he had written, every story he had whispered, every bond he had fostered had led her here. She was no longer a child seeking answers at a grave, she was the princess of the pack, guardian of the forest, and leader of 25 loyal wolves whose lives were intertwined with hers. The guide wolf padded forward, tail high, and nudged her gently toward a fallen log near the center of the clearing. Sam knelt, feeling the soft earth beneath her hands, the rhythm of life flowing through every root, stone, and leaf. From the shadows of the trees emerged the young wolf pup she had rescued, bounding toward her with joyous energy. It tumbled at her feet, playful yet tentative, eyes sparkling with trust. She laughed softly, a sound as light and clear as the bubbling stream nearby, and lifted the pup into her arms. "This is what we protect," she whispered, brushing the soft fur of the pup. "All life, all loyalty, all trust. This is why we fight, why we lead, why we endure." The Alpha circled them, amber eyes warm and approving. "Your strength is not only in your courage," it communicated, "but in your heart. Today, the forest recognizes your bond, your leadership, and your destiny. You have proven yourself as princess of the pack, worthy of trust, love, and guidance." Sam's gaze swept across the clearing, taking in each wolf. The guide wolf, the young pup, and the others who had followed her through trials that had tested every part of her being. Their loyalty was not born from fear, but from connection, respect, and the bond she had nurtured with patience and care. She realized then that leadership was not about dominance, but harmony, not about command, but unity, not about power, but love. A rustle at the edge of the forest drew her attention. Her heart stirred at the familiar presence of the lone wolf who had joined her in the trials of trust and connection. He emerged into the clearing, his eyes meeting hers with warmth, intelligence, and something deeper, something that made her pulse quicken. He approached slowly, each step deliberate, careful, as if honoring the space between them, yet undeniably drawn to her presence. Sam knelt once more, extending her hand. The wolf pressed his head against her palm, and in that moment, she felt a spark of understanding, recognition, and unspoken promise. He was no longer an outsider or a shadow of threat. He was part of the pack, part of her world, and part of her heart. The forest seemed to exhale around them, the sunlight piercing the canopy like a blessing, illuminating the beauty of life, connection, and renewal. The Alpha moved closer, guiding the pack to form a circle around Sam, the lone wolf, and the pup. It was a living emblem of unity, trust, and love, an unbroken bond that had been forged in trials, sacrifice, and courage. Today, the Alpha's voice resonated in her mind, the trials end. But the journey does not. You have learned courage, heart, and wisdom. You have faced shadows, storms, and danger. And now, you stand as the guardian of the pack, the protector of the forest, and the heir to a legacy that will endure beyond you. Sam's lips curved into a smile, tears of joy and relief glistening in her eyes. She rose fully, lifting the pup gently in her arms, the lone wolf now at her side, the Alpha steady and proud beside her. The rest of the pack closed in, bodies brushing together, tails swaying, eyes shining with loyalty and pride. She felt the rhythm of life, the pulse of unity, the steady heartbeat of the forest aligning with her own. "This is home," she whispered, her voice steady and filled with certainty. "This is family. This is where I belong. And together, we will protect it, cherish it, and grow stronger every day." The pack responded with soft growls, nuzzles, and the gentle brushing of fur against skin, a chorus of affirmation, trust, and love. Sam could feel the energy of the forest flowing through her, the strength of the pack amplifying her courage, and the presence of her father, of generations past, guiding her silently. She had found her place, her purpose, and her heart fully intertwined with the life around her. The morning sun rose higher, bathing the forest in brilliance, scattering the last traces of mist and shadow. Sam felt a profound peace settle within her, a knowledge that she had overcome the trials, claimed her destiny, and forged bonds that would last a lifetime. The wolves gathered closer, bodies pressed together in warmth and loyalty, the lone wolf at her side, the young pup playful in her arms. She looked up at the sky, golden and endless, and whispered a promise, not only to the pack, but to herself, to the forest, and to the legacy of her father. "I will protect this pack. I will honor our bond. I will lead with courage, wisdom, and heart. And together, we will thrive, now and always." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the scent of pine, earth, and life renewed. The forest seemed to hum in agreement, a living witness to the triumph, love, and unity that had been forged through fire, trials, and heart. Sam, the princess of the pack, stood tall, the Alpha and the lone wolf at her side, the pack forming a living circle of trust, strength, and devotion around her. The trials were over. The shadows had passed. The storm had ended. And the dawn of the pack, golden and radiant, had begun. The forest, the pack, and her heart were at peace. And Sam knew, without doubt, that she had found her home, her family, and her destiny, forever intertwined, forever strong, forever united. The forest was alive with a new kind of stillness, a calm that felt earned, a peace that carried the weight of trials overcome. Sunlight spilled like liquid gold through the canopy, scattering across the dew-specked leaves and illuminating the forest floor in a dazzling mosaic of green, amber, and silver. Every tree, every stone, every rustle of undergrowth seemed to breathe in harmony with the pack, a rhythm as old as the earth itself, yet renewed with the triumph of this day. Sam stood at the heart of the clearing, her chest rising and falling with a calm, steady rhythm. She had faced storms of shadows, external threats that tested her courage, and trials that had probed the very core of her heart. She had stumbled, faltered, even feared, but she had endured. And now, standing amid the wolves she had led, nurtured, and fought for, she understood what it truly meant to belong, to lead, and to love. The alpha moved close, brushing its massive head against her shoulder, eyes glowing with quiet pride. The guide wolf circled, tails flicking, noses twitching in a dance of subtle communication that Sam had learned to understand instinctively. Around them, the rest of the pack shifted, forming a protective and affectionate circle. 25 wolves, each one bonded to her, each one a living testament to the loyalty, trust, and respect she had earned. The young wolf pup she had rescued bounded into the clearing, its small paws splashing through a stream, fur glistening in the sunlight. It tumbled at her feet, playful, joyous, and utterly unafraid. Sam knelt, laughing softly as she scooped the pup into her arms. She felt the warmth, the heartbeat, and the innocence of the creature, a living symbol of what she had fought to protect. Everything we've faced, she whispered, brushing the soft fur, was for this, for life, for trust, for family. From the edge of the clearing, the lone wolf who had joined them in past trials emerged, stepping confidently yet gently toward her. Their eyes met, amber to amber, and in that moment, words were unnecessary. There was recognition, understanding, and a quiet, powerful bond that had grown through shared danger, loyalty, and trust. He approached slowly, allowing her the space to welcome him, and yet, with every step, it was clear that he was part of this family, part of this pack, part of her life. The forest seemed to exhale around them. The leaves whispered with the wind, birds called their songs of celebration, and the sunlight caught the dew in sparkling droplets, as though the world itself was acknowledging the triumph of courage, love, and unity. You have grown far beyond the child who once knelt at her father's grave, the alpha communicated, its voice resonating in her mind. You are no longer simply a protector or a guide, you are the heart, the center, and the spirit of this pack. Today, you stand as the princess of the pack, and your legacy will endure as long as the forest breathes. Tears filled Sam's eyes, warm and unashamed, tears of relief, joy, and the profound understanding that she had found her place, her family, and her purpose. She had been tested, not only by shadows and storms, but by her own heart. And she had emerged whole, stronger, and more certain than ever before. The pack gathered closer, bodies brushing together, tails sweeping softly over the earth, ears flicking with affection and vigilance. Sam felt their presence, their pulse, their unwavering loyalty, intertwining with hers in a rhythm that was both comforting and exhilarating. She had led them through darkness, protected them in danger, and now shared with them the joy of peace. The lone wolf stepped beside her, a subtle nuzzle against her hand, and she felt a surge of warmth spread through her chest. He had become more than an ally, he had become part of the bond that defined her life, part of the family she had fought to build. Sam smiled softly, her heart full, knowing that together they would face whatever future came, side by side, united and unbroken. The young pup wriggled in her arms, playful and innocent, and she realized that life would continue, new challenges would come, and the forest would always demand vigilance. But she also understood that love, loyalty, courage, and connection, the heart of the pack, would always endure, guiding them, sustaining them, and strengthening them with each passing day. The sunlight deepened, bathing the clearing in golden radiance. Sam rose slowly, the pup nestled safely in her arms, the lone wolf at her side, the alpha and guide wolf flanking her. The rest of the pack formed a perfect circle, a living emblem of trust, unity, and belonging. She felt the pulse of life beneath her feet, the rhythm of the forest around her, and the unbreakable bond that connected her to every living creature in this sacred place. "This is home," she whispered aloud, her voice steady, warm, and full of conviction. "This is family. This is where I belong." And together, we will protect it, cherish it, and grow stronger, forever." The Alpha's amber eyes glowed with quiet approval. "And so it is, Princess. The trials have ended. The storm has passed. The darkness has retreated. Today marks the dawn of the pack, your family, your home." A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, carrying with it the scents of pine, earth, and life renewed. Birds rose into the sky, calling out in celebration, and the sunlight struck the dew-laden foliage in glittering cascades. Sam felt the warmth of the forest, the loyalty of the pack, and the depth of her own heart harmonizing into a single, undeniable truth: she had arrived. She lifted her gaze to the horizon, where the sun blazed bright and eternal, and with the pack at her side, she took the first true steps of her reign, her heart full, her spirit unshakable, and her destiny fulfilled. The trials were over. The forest was safe. The pack was hers. And the dawn of the pack, golden and eternal, had begun. Sam smiled, the weight of grief lifted, the warmth of love surrounding her, and she knew without doubt, she had found her family, her purpose, and her home, forever.